This is not a conspiracy. This is scary. So in 2018, scientists discovered a black hole really, really far. Like I want to say it's like 16 million light years away. Something crazy. Super far from us. They were watching it literally swallow a star.
Oof.
It was sucking a star in.
Did it move or the star move?
The star was getting sucked into this black, like, so it was just like light streams.
Seriously?
Black hole.
Where is it going?
Listen to this. What they thought they knew of black holes, well, they don't know a lot. Stuff gets sucked into it because it's just this mad force of gravitational pull that just sucks everything in.
Yeah.
Right.
But this year, they looked at the same black hole and it was spitting the star back out. Like, so light and stuff was coming out of this black hole. Just like, so it was like regurgitating this star.
Just
But,
recycling it.
Like broken apart though. So it's like, what's on the other side of that black hole?
It was the star was broken?
Yeah,
Well, I thought a star was just a ball of gas.
it is. But light and stuff was coming out of it. It sucked the star in with the light and it was spitting it straight back out
That's
3 years later.
terrifying.
Yeah, so that made me question a lot of things.
Do you remember listening to what a black hole sounds like?
Oh,
They dropped
yeah.
it this year.
I've actually never heard this.
Dude, that sounds
Me
like
neither.
the underworld.
That's
what
terrifying.
that's what a black hole sounds like.
Hate
That's what,
that.
that's what I'm going to sleep to tonight. Just
Now, everything I've ever heard of something being sucked into a black hole, we've never heard of anything coming out of it. We heard that it's so, like he said, strong gravitational pull. Once it pulls it in there, it stretches it, devours it, does what it do. Nothing, it always says nothing, not even life can escape a black hole. So I don't know where he heard that from, but I need to see that video to see that actually happen because I've never heard that in anything I've watched, read, researched, nothing like that. So that's new.
Nobody knows what's inside a black hole, and I don't know any volunteers to find out. Even
Nope.
if there were a volunteer, they would go in, they'll find out what's on the other side of a black hole, but none of the rest of us will ever know
Nope.
because they cannot communicate back out because nothing comes out of a black hole.
See?
Right? They can't even send an SOS with radio signals because radio waves travel at the speed of light, and the speed of light is insufficient to escape the black hole. But the theories of the universe, general theory of relativity, that gives us the black hole in the first place, if you take those equations into the black hole, it tells us that an entire other space-time opens up in front of you. As the future history of the universe is left behind, a whole other universe opens up in front of you. It's freaky, but the general theory of relativity has worked in every other way we've applied it. So this is particularly intriguing to us all. That perhaps the universe with its black holes is just this sort of Swiss cheese of universes in some higher dimension where you might have access. So it's intriguing, and I want to know the answer too. In fact, if I know I'm going to die
So
soon,
do I.
send me into a black hole. That way I'll die knowing, rather than just drooling on the bed, just or getting hit by a bus. Launch me into a black hole. That's how I want to die.
And I'm still of the belief, part of me is of the belief that a black hole is like a portal to another type of dimension, galaxy, something like that. That's I'm still of the belief, partially of the belief that it's that. You're going from one thing to the other. You ever play Mario, how you go through the tunnel and end up somewhere else? That's kind of might be what I be thinking about when I be thinking about a black hole. Just, that might be what I think about.
Did you know what will happen if a black hole and a white hole collide? A black hole is a region in space where gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape its pull. Similarly, a white hole is believed to be the exact opposite of black hole, where instead of matter being pulled in, it spits out incredible amount of energy and light. When a black hole and a white hole collides, the phenomenon is known as black hole bounce, and there is two possible scenarios that can happen when they collide. First is that the collision between them would give rise to a cosmic scale event such that of a big bang destroying destroying our universe or maybe creating a new one. This would also release enormous amount of energy and radiation, outshining our entire galaxies. Imagine the brightest fireworks you've ever seen, multiplied by billions. Secondly, the energy emitted from this cosmic explosion might possibly tear the fabric of space-time, giving birth to what's known as a wormhole. A wormhole is a theoretical passage through space-time, connecting distant parts of the universe or even different universes altogether. This collision between black hole and white hole might be our future of space travels, where we can travel to another universe just in a snap of our finger. If you find this video interesting, comment down your
See, that's what makes space like super dope and cool to me, man. Just knowing that something like that can happen, and then just the unknowns of everything is what's intriguing and keep me coming back day after day.
You mean to tell me that on July 25th, 2011, astronomers discovered a water reservoir in a black hole? Can one of you freaking explain that, please? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
What is he looking on? I need to find out where they're getting this information from. Seriously? This is what also makes it scary, bro. That part of the unknown. Sheesh.
There's a supermassive black hole at the center of every galaxy.
Yeah.
But there's also other black holes that aren't necessarily in the center of galaxies.
Yeah, so these little ones, the little, they're a few times the mass of the sun, and they're from collapsed stars.
Right.
So they are stars at the end of their life, very bigger than the sun, more massive than the sun, but they run out of their fuel and they start to collapse because gravity squashes them. And if they're sufficiently massive, then there's nothing that can stop the collapse, and so they collapse, as far as we know, to a point, right? And essentially an infinitely dense point. We don't really know what happens we don't know what happens right in the middle, but they collapse to such an extent that there's a region around it from which light can't escape, and so nothing can escape, and that's a black hole.
Do you know the story of the Amazon rainforest? The Amazon rainforest used to be thriving with cities, and they found that out very recently because of something called LiDAR. And LiDAR is this thing where they fly over the jungle, and
It's like radar kicking back to tell them about different things that's in the jungle.
you have this light emitting radar that goes down and it finds all these grids, and they see irrigation, they see grids that matched out cities. They think the Europeans came through and killed everybody with smallpox, and then the jungle just took over itself. And then what you see as the Amazon rainforest, you want to really freak out? That's a man-made rainforest. The plant life. Most of what the Amazon is from early agriculture that just got out of control after the people were dead. There was millions and millions of people living in these cities that were in the Amazon.
Millions.
They just didn't have the antibodies to deal with the fucking European diseases. You think about what the Europeans, when they came over to America, they killed 90% of the Native Americans, all with diseases. There's a certain species of hornets that flies into honeybees. I think it's Japanese hornets.
Well, before we get too far into what Jordan, because he's really speaking some stuff right now, I'm super intrigued about where he's going next. But back to the black hole thing that he was talking about, and things that I've heard about, like they can pop up anywhere. And I've heard about stars collapsing and imploding and different things like that, and them forming a black hole. So with that thought process, they can, I mean, like at the same time, they believe, some people's theories, they believe that we're inside, the earth is inside of a black hole. How can we refute that? There's no way, right?
They fly into these hives of honeybees and just decimate the honeybees. They cut their heads off with their mandibles, like chomp, 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 and they're so much bigger. So they fly in, and there's this slow motion video of these enormous hornets flying in and decapitating thousands and thousands of honeybees. The honeybees, they're so outsized, they're much, much larger, and they're much more powerful, but the honeybees figured out a strategy to kill the hornets, and what they do is they surround them, they get on top of them, and then they beat their wings. They all generate heat, and then they kill the hornets with the heat of their body.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anything that's like particular.
Nah, they figured out, bro. You might your height and weight, you might beat us in size, but we got numbers, fam. All we gotta do is come up with a strategy. And they figured out that their number is greater than theirs and they can do a lot. That's what happened. Yeah, keep coming around doing something to us. We're gonna figure something out.
Really bizarre.
Yeah, we did one on organs. The first episode of the season was organ trafficking.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we all think it's a rumor and it can't really exist, and it's a Hollywood depiction of stuff going on. One of the most disturbing interviews I ever did was with a guy in Colombia called the Wrecker, which his name is the El Deshuesador, which means the wrecker or the deboner. And it was horrible because he's telling us how he does what he does, and he cuts people alive. He then showed me a video of them with a person and, some body parts, some organs. The video was really horrific and we decided not to air it. There was no part of me that I understood what he did. But then we find out that this trade is very much alive. We eventually landed an interview with a patient who had gotten one of these organs on the black market. And he looked me in the eye and he said, "I know you're judging me, but what would you do if it was you or your loved one?"
So ChatGPT is a large language model trained artificial intelligence, which is often surprisingly good at answering questions you might have about how to do things. But if you imagine that this thing just gets a little better than it is, which is inevitable, that it's going to make actual insight that much harder to spot, right? In other words, if you become expert at operating this thing, at querying it, and it becomes better at understanding a wider range of topics because they turn it loose on everything that's written on the internet, for example, right? Then the point is the ability to fake expertise is going to go through the roof.
Everything else.
Never thought about that. I never thought about them faking knowing something. That form of manipulation right there can wreak so much havoc. So much havoc. Holy snap. Now that's a new fear unlocked for me. New fear unlocked right there. Wow.
This has kind of moved along technologically, innovation.
No, things mostly haven't moved.
Really?
Yeah, we all have this sense of, oh my God, the dizzying pace of progress.
Right.
And then I always set this problem this way. I say, if you subtract the screens in our lives, so our phones, the flat screen TVs, all that stuff, and you forget about style issues, the style changes. How do you know you're not in 1973? More or less, we don't have George Jetson stuff everywhere. The distance between 1952, where we have the first thermonuclear device in the test known as Ivy Mike, and 1902, before we even had powered flight, is like 10,000 years. It's enormous.
Right.
The difference between 1973 and 2023 is mostly due to computers. Computers and communication are the two really big expanding things.
So ChatGPT is a large...
Think about that. That the distance between the two, 73 to 2000 or whatever he said. The big thing is computers, everything and communication, and everything else has been a play off of that. We really haven't intuitively invented anything nuanced, like groundbreakingly new. No, everything has just been a build off of that. So have we really gone far? Change my opinion on that. Tell me, what else? You can't say electric vehicles because that's still part of the car. You can't say, because that's still off of phones and computers. Everything. I might really have to sit with that for a minute and think about that. That's pretty good.
Large language model trained artificial intelligence, which is often surprisingly good at answering questions you might have about how to do things. But if you imagine that this thing just gets a little better than it is, which is inevitable, that it's going to make actual insight that much harder to spot, right? In other words, if you become...
Despite being black and a black hole is not a dark, empty space. In his theory of relativity, Einstein predicted how black holes are formed. When a massive star dies, it leaves a smaller, remnant core behind. If the core's mass is at least 3 times bigger than the mass of our sun, gravity overwhelms all other forces and turns the core into a black hole. But don't let its name fool you. A black hole isn't a hole at all, but rather a huge amount of matter packed into a very small space. Think of the sun, with its gravitational field 28 times stronger than Earth's. If you were to walk on the sun, you'd be 28 times heavier than you are on Earth. Now, imagine squeezing 4 suns into something that's just 15 miles in diameter, the distance you can cover in a 30-minute drive. What would the gravity be like there? A black hole's gravity is so strong that even light can't get out. That's why you'll never see one, but you can detect it from the gamma ray bursts that the hole emits. These bursts, discovered by Stephen Hawking, now carry his name, Hawking radiation. Stephen Hawking himself believed that black holes can be passages to another universe. So, if you were to fall into one, would you find yourself in an alternate dimension? Every black hole has an event horizon, the point at which gravitational pull becomes so strong you can't escape from it. The point of no return. If you found yourself outside of that point, you'd see that stars are twisted around a perfect circle of darkness. As you start being pulled toward a black hole, you'd be moving faster and faster, accelerated by the force of gravity.
Despite being black, though, did anybody else notice like the pause after he's... All right, I'm gonna leave it alone, but I just thought that was pretty crazy. But, you know, everything you said in the video isn't something we haven't already heard of, whether it be conspiracy theory or not, as people believe to be straight up fact. It's something that, like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, you know, we'll never really know. And if somebody actually goes in there, they'll know, but we'll never get the information back. So we'll continue to speculate.
Listen to this. That's the sound of a black hole. Now, is it me, or does that sound like something's happening in that black hole?
It sounds like Kong sleeping is what it sounds like. Something Kong from the movie. It sounds like him sleeping.
You know, what's even scarier is that we only have theories of what happens when you enter a black hole. No one knows. No one knows. We have the spaghetti theory, which is you instantly die and you get strong like spaghetti, but nobody really knows that. Yeah. So it's like, what the fuck really happens in that thing where it's sounding like that? Imagine if a black hole was just a galaxy black hole, aka world destroyer. That's like kind of wild.
What if a black hole is where the life is that we seem to be searching for? Anybody ever thought about that? What if that's where the life is and we just can't, we don't know, so therefore we don't try to enter. So that's why we're struggling to try to find the life. Maybe that could be the answer. I wonder if they ever thought about that.
Theories you never thought of. A Reddit user found a black hole on Google Maps and users couldn't figure out what it was. In 1962, an Italian magazine carried a story on how the world would look in 2022. The average person walks past around 7 psychopaths every day. That might not be true. NASA's Curiosity rover discovered a strange rock formation on Mars that looks like an alien doorway. Here's a better look. Only 66% of 18 to 24-year-olds are confident the world is round, according to a survey. And supposedly, a prisoner who died and was brought back to life claims his life sentence has technically ended. Dang.
That last one, though, what did they say when you're technically, what is a heart attack? So is that life sentence over with? You know what? Bump that one. Let's go back to the one where you walk past at least 7 psychopaths a day. That's going to sit with me now. I go outside of my home. What if it's the ones in your home, though? People you live with. I got to start watching the people I live with. What if you walk past 7 psychopaths a day? That's crazy. Wow.
The Earth has been sucked into a black hole. The European Organisation for Nuclear Research is at the heart of a lot of crazy conspiracy theories, including people who believe that when CERN discovered the Higgs boson in 2012, they inadvertently created a black hole and Earth was sucked into it. These people think that the world ended in 2012, but we haven't realised it yet, which is why some people think.
What do you think? What? Some people think what? I hate when they cut the video off and leave you on a cliffhanger like that. What? What is it? You know what I mean? But here's another person that thinks that, you know, the Earth has been sucked into, or he's stating what people are saying, the Earth has been sucked into a black hole, man. I think I'm just talking off the top of my head with some of this stuff. No, but a lot of people have that theory and think that the Earth could be potentially sitting in a black hole.
Scientists recently heard an echo, a sound, that was coming out of a black hole 200 years ago. An international team of scientists has recorded a sound that came from the supermassive black hole at the center of our Milky Way galaxy, stemming from an event around 200 years ago. The sound was emitted during an intense period of activity as the dark hole known as Sagittarius A stirred from a state of dormancy, gobbling up gas and dust. Okay, so I'm going to play you the sound because it's absolutely crazy, and then we're going to talk about what this points to about what is actually inside of a black hole, because I know that's something that we've all wondered about our whole lives, right? But doesn't it also kind of sound funny? I've heard this noise, like I've heard this before. So I about what this noise is. I just feel like if we're being honest with ourselves, there's really only one explanation for what that noise could be, and I think it really points to what has been inside of black holes all this time. I think it's just a little guy, you know, sitting at the piano, and he's just trying to play us a song. And I think that's really sweet.
I ain't gonna lie, that thing sounded like a video game. I was like, yo, she gotta be trolling. She gotta be trolling us.
They're trying to open a portal. They've actually done it before. The last time was in 2016.
On July 5th, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, is restarting the Large Hadron Collider. The LHC has been in use since 2010, and it just had some...
Now, I think that machine, CERN, can create a black hole. I'm of that theory.
updates done, and now it's firing up again. But it's not a conspiracy. They're being very clear about what they're doing. The LHC collides particles at extremely high speeds and watches what happens to see if they break apart or form new things. And that gives clues about how the universe itself and everything in it formed. It also helps us understand what the universe is composed of, including things like dark matter. But the LHC has never created a wormhole or a black hole ever. It probably never will. But if it did create a black hole, it might not be a bad thing. The black hole would be microscopic and it would disintegrate immediately, but we would learn so much about the universe. Also, black holes aren't intrinsically dangerous. It's just a massive object. They don't suck things in. Anyways, the LHC can achieve an energy that no other particle accelerators ever have before, but that doesn't even compare to what happens in nature. Cosmic rays collide with particles in the Earth's atmosphere at much greater energies, and we're fine. And nobody is trying to open a portal to another dimension. They're trying to find evidence of other dimensions, but that just means discovering new tiny little particles. You couldn't go to another dimension. And just to be clear, they've never done this yet. Nobody's ever discovered an unknown dimension. So this is all very exciting in the world of physics, but they've been doing this for a very long time and there's nothing to worry about. I promise everything's gonna be okay. CERN isn't responsible for the Mandela effect, and I don't know how people are connecting this to Beyonce or the United States economic protests. CERN isn't even in the United States.
Anytime somebody says something like that, or they be vouching for companies like that, oh, they would never, or they've never done this, or they won't do this, or something like, it's normally right before they do something like that. You know what I mean? Anytime I get skeptical, anytime I hear somebody speak like that, oh, this company would never, And now you're just vouching so much for their credibility, and they wouldn't do that, and this never happened. And no, red flag for me. All of that are red flags for me.
When you go through a black hole, mathematically, no one's ever done this, of course, you wind up in a parallel universe.
But you end up also stretched so skinny you could never survive? Your consciousness could
That's
never
for a
exist?
small black hole. Large black holes have very weak gravitational fields, and you can travel right through. A spinning black hole, for example, collapses to a ring, not a dot. The ring rotates very quickly, that's why it doesn't collapse, because of centrifugal force. If you were to fall through the ring, you will go right through to a parallel universe without being crushed to death. These are called the Kerr solutions of Einstein's equations. And so it's like the looking glass of Alice. The rim of the looking glass is the black hole.
So why hasn't he gone through one then? If he's so sure, why hasn't he gone through it?
The center is the looking glass. When you put your hand through the looking glass, your hand winds up on the other side of forever. That is the solution of Einstein's equations.
They're just not going to be able to feed us no dumb stuff no more, man, and just expect us to believe it. You're just not going to be able to spew some stuff at us and think we're just going to accept it. No, thank you.
Anything becomes a black hole. If you take an orange and you squash an orange down sufficiently small, according to Einstein, it becomes a black hole. So these things don't have to be gargantuan. We also typically have an intuition that black holes are really dense, right? That's usually the way we think about them. But if you make something sufficiently large, regardless of how low its density is, it will also become a black hole. So you can make a black hole out of air.
I never really thought about that or heard that was one of Einstein's theories. So that's pretty interesting.
A satellite has found a black hole in the Pacific Ocean. The image was taken by a satellite, and several people created theories explaining what this image could be. The image was published without any coordinates, and based on the appearance of the photo, some people say it is a black hole. The image caught the attention of several people, so experts analyzed the photo and discovered that the image is an uninhabited island.
Can you make a video on the tides? So the moon doesn't control the tides at all. What controls the tides are the 4 rivers that are flowing out of the Garden of Eden at the North Pole. This map you're looking at right here is a map from the 1500s of the North Pole. Mount Zion is located at the North Pole, which is the mountain spoken about all throughout the Bible. Then underneath that is the Garden of Eden, which is why the 4 rivers are coming out of it, just like it says in the Bible. Now if we look here, one of those rivers, look, it passes through the whole land of Ethiopia, meaning it literally goes around that entire continent. All the oceans are connected to the Garden of Eden at the North Pole. The oceans are really just big rivers. Now, what force is causing these rivers to move? Well, it's the Rupus Nigra, which is Mount Zion. Rupus Nigra means black rock. It is a black rock magnetic mountain located.
Y'all, we caught that, right? I just wanted to make sure I wasn't hearing things. I had to say what to y'all. Let's keep going though.
Located at the North Pole. The biggest investment company in the world is BlackRock. Not to mention, BlackRock is 33 French miles wide. And we know who loves that number 33. So I hope that answers your question. The oceans are just big rivers. It's not the moon that's controlling the tides.
Hey, I like the fact that he's doing it and he's connecting the dots while doing it. Salute to him for that. You know what I mean? Just make sure anything you hear, make sure you go back and you double check and you verify the information. You know what I'm saying? Even with something I put out, whatever anybody puts out, verify it, man. Look it up. See if it's true. And then still you have to question whether that where you're getting that information is real. So we just don't know. But listen, y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think and stick around and stay tuned. The next one I'm gone.